The image that comes to mind every time I look at my kitchen now is astonishing. 3 months ago, this very space was silently making me sick. Expired products hiding in overcrowded cabinets, utensils I didn't even remember having, drawers that barely closed, and worst of all, an increasingly processed diet because I didn't have time to cook in that chaos. That's when I realized my kitchen wasn't just a disorganized room, it was actively sabotaging my health. The excess of items created an environment that made it impossible to maintain healthy habits. The more packed the cabinets, the less I could cook nutritious meals. The mess was literally pushing me towards unhealthy food choices. My transformation journey began with a simple question. What do I really need in this space to live well? I wasn't seeking perfection. I was seeking functionality and peace. And what I discovered completely changed my relationship with food, my home, and honestly, my mental health. Today, I'm going to show you exactly how I transformed my chaotic kitchen into a wellness hub through Japanese minimalism. It's not about having fewer items, it's about having the right items organized intentionally that support a more balanced life. The change was so profound that my chronic headaches disappeared, I lost weight naturally, and I regained the joy of preparing meals at home. My method is simple, practical, and most importantly, sustainable in the long term. If you also feel like your kitchen is working against you instead of for you, stay tuned until the end. The transformation I'm about to share might be exactly what you need to take back control, not just of your space, but of your overall health. The first step in my transformation was a sincere evaluation of the situation. I opened every cabinet, every drawer, and laid everything I had in the kitchen out on the table. It was shocking to see how much I had accumulated. Pots with burnt bottoms that I kept just in case. 6 different spatulas when I only used one. 15 glasses of varying sizes for a household of 2, spices that had expired years ago, appliances that I promised to use one day. Confronting all of those objects was a moment of clarity. Each useless item represented wasted energy, energy for cleaning, searching, organizing, and maintaining. It was as if each unnecessary object drained a little of my vitality every day. In a kitchen that should nurture nourishment and care, I had cultivated stress and overload. I then developed 3 simple questions for each item. Have I used this in the last 6 months? Does this item bring me joy when I use it? And is there another object that serves the same purpose? It was surprising how these questions cut through the emotional clutter that made me hold on to useless things. It wasn't about discarding for the sake of discarding, but about creating space for what truly mattered. The decisions were not always easy. There were items with sentimental value, gifts from loved ones, things I bought during special moments. For these, I created a small area for treasures, a single space where I kept the few objects that had genuine emotional value but that I did not use daily. The immediate result was visible. For the first time in years, I was able to see the back of my cabinets. The drawers closed smoothly. Finding what I needed became instant, rather than a frustrating search. But the impact went far beyond physical organization. I started noticing subtle changes in my behavior. With fewer obstacles between me and the act of cooking, I began preparing more meals at home. The simplicity of the space made cleaning so easy that it stopped feeling like a chore. I found that by removing the excess, I wasn't just organizing objects, I was reorganizing my habits. The next step was to rethink the layout of everything that remained. I realized that the way we organize our kitchen can either facilitate or hinder healthy habits. I then developed the principle of intention zones, specific areas organized according to their function and frequency of use. In the preparation zone, near the sink and cutting boards, I kept only the essential knives and the tools I use daily for preparing fresh food. In the cooking zone, next to the stove, I only had the pots I use regularly, each with a specific purpose, no duplicates or extras. I created a whole foods zone at eye level in the pantry, where I kept grains, legumes, nuts, and other unprocessed foods in clear containers. The few processed foods I still consumed were stored on a lower shelf, less accessible, a subtle barrier that made me think twice before choosing them. In the refrigerator, I reorganized everything so that fruits and vegetables were the first things I saw when I opened the door. It's amazing how this simple repositioning influenced my daily choices. When nutritious foods are the most visible and accessible, we naturally tend to choose them. Another principle I adopted was one touch. Any item should be positioned so I could grab it with just one motion without needing to move other things first. This meant no stacking pots, no utensils hidden behind others. Each object had its designated, accessible, and logical place. This spatial reorganization had a profound effect on how I moved around the kitchen. My movements became fluid, almost meditative. Preparing a meal stopped being a battle against chaos and turned into a calm and intentional process. The transformation of the physical space naturally led to a change in my relationship with time. Previously, the disorganization in the kitchen was my excuse to resort to ultra-processed foods and delivery. "I don't have time to cook in this mess," was my mantra. But by simplifying the environment, I discovered how much time I was truly wasting searching for things, cleaning cluttered surfaces, or simply trying to decide where to start. I then developed simple routines that fit naturally into the flow of life. Each night before going to bed, I made sure the sink was empty and the surfaces were clean, a gift for my future self the next day. On Sundays, I dedicated an hour to preparing some basic foods for the week: a cooked grain, chopped vegetables, maybe a simple soup. It wasn't rigid planning, just a foundation that made it easier to make healthy choices during the busy week. These small routines transformed into enjoyable rituals, not chores. Keeping order ceased to be an effort and became a natural, almost unconscious habit. I realized that minimalism wasn't about deprivation. It was about creating space for what truly mattered. One of the most transformative aspects of this journey was the change in my relationship with consumption. Previously, it was easy to be tempted by promising kitchen gadgets, revolutionary utensils, products that claimed to make everything quicker, easier, and prettier. I would buy impulsively, drawn in by the promise of a better life through more things. Now, when I consider bringing a new item into my kitchen, I ask myself deep questions. Will this item solve a real problem I have? Is there something I already own that can fulfill the same function? Will this item bring lasting value to my life or just momentary satisfaction? This awareness has extended beyond physical objects. I've started to question what I'm putting into my body as well. The simplicity of the kitchen inspired me to seek simplicity in food. I realized that I didn't need exotic or complicated ingredients to create nutritious and satisfying meals. I rediscovered the joy of simple foods prepared with care: a bowl of perfectly cooked rice, seasonal vegetables lightly sautéed, a homemade soup made with few ingredients, but a lot of attention. I found that just like in my physical space, conscious simplicity in food brought me more satisfaction than abundance without purpose. This new relationship with consumption brought an unexpected sense of freedom. No longer feeling the constant need to acquire new things opened up mental and financial space. I began to invest in fewer items, but with greater quality and durability. A good knife that would last for years instead of several mediocre ones that would need to be replaced. Well-built pots that distributed heat evenly and provided joy when used. As I progressed on this journey, I realized that the true power of minimalism lay in its impact on my daily habits. A simplified and functional kitchen removed invisible barriers that had previously prevented me from making healthy choices. Cooking at home became easier than ordering takeout. Cleaning while preparing food became natural, not a chore to be postponed. Choosing whole foods became simple when they were visible and accessible. The external order created the conditions for internal order. I then developed what I call habit minimalism, identifying and maintaining only the habits that truly serve my well-being, eliminating those that drained my energy without providing real benefits. Just as I had done with physical objects, I took an honest inventory of my eating and cooking habits. I identified patterns that weren't serving me: eating in front of the television, distracted, impulsively buying food that went to waste, postponing kitchen cleaning until it became a monumental task. One by one, I worked to replace these habits with others that were more aligned with my values and goals. The change was neither instant nor perfect. There were days of relapse, moments of frustration, times when disorder threatened to return. But the difference was that now I had awareness, I had tools, and I had a clear vision of what I wanted for my space and my life. Every time I returned to the basics, keeping only what is necessary, organizing with intention, creating sustainable routines, I regained my balance. Over time, these principles became so integrated into my daily life that they ceased to be effortful and simply became my natural way of living. One of the most surprising aspects of this journey was realizing how the transformation of my kitchen spread to other areas of my life. The clarity and calm I found in that space began to influence how I organized my office, my wardrobe, even my schedule. I started applying the same questions to other aspects of life. Is this really necessary? Does this bring me joy or value? Is there a simpler way to achieve the same result? I discovered that minimalism wasn't just a decorative style, but a life philosophy that could be applied to practically everything. In my diet, this philosophy translated into simpler meals that were deeply satisfying. I discovered that I didn't need complex menus or exotic ingredients to feel nourished and happy. A small variety of whole foods, prepared with care and gratitude, provided more satisfaction than elaborate meals consumed mindlessly. My relationship with grocery shopping also changed drastically. Instead of impulsively filling my cart, I began buying less, more frequently, focusing on fresh, unprocessed foods. Ironically, this simplification broadened my palate. By cooking with more basic ingredients, I learned to appreciate their natural flavors and experiment with simple yet creative combinations. The daily practice of keeping the kitchen organized also brought unexpected benefits for my mental health. The act of cleaning and organizing, when done mindfully and not as a hated chore, became almost meditative. Washing dishes, wiping surfaces, putting items in their places, these small rituals transformed into moments of mindfulness that anchored my day. I noticed that visual clutter also created a subliminal mental clutter. Every time I stepped into a chaotic kitchen, even unconsciously, my brain registered dozens of unfinished tasks, things out of place, pending decisions. This constant visual noise drained mental energy that could be directed toward more important things. In contrast, entering an organized and intentional space provided an immediate sense of calm. There were no pending decisions, no accumulated tasks screaming for attention, just an invitation to be present and create. This calmer mental state naturally influenced my food choices. I discovered that during times of stress and mental overload, I tended to reach for ultra-processed foods high in sugar and fats. It was as if my brain, already overwhelmed, didn't have the energy to make more conscious choices. With the mental clarity provided by the organized environment, it became easier to make food choices aligned with my true desires for health and well-being. It wasn't about willpower. It was about creating conditions that made healthy choices feel the most natural and accessible. This cascading effect, from physical organization to mental clarity, from mental clarity to more conscious food choices, was perhaps the most transformative aspect of this journey. I wasn't just reorganizing objects. I was reorganizing my relationship with food, my body, and my health as a whole. As my kitchen transformed, I began to notice concrete changes in my physical health. The frequent headaches I had attributed to stress started to decrease. My energy levels became more stable throughout the day. Sleep, which was previously restless, became deeper and more restorative. It wasn't about a strict diet or an intense exercise program. It was simply the result of removing obstacles that had kept me from naturally taking care of myself. With a functional and inviting kitchen, preparing nutritious meals ceased to be a chore and became a pleasure. With whole foods easily accessible, making healthy choices became the path of least resistance. Minimalism in the kitchen has revealed a fundamental truth. Often, the biggest obstacle to a healthy life is not a lack of knowledge or determination, but the excess of objects, options, information, distractions. By removing this excess, we create space for our natural instincts for self-care to flourish. This space has also allowed me to rediscover the sensory pleasure of food. When we eat surrounded by clutter, distracted by multiple stimuli, we lose the ability to truly savor and appreciate our meals. In contrast, a simple meal enjoyed in a calm environment can offer a deep satisfaction that no amount of mindlessly consumed food could provide. I started practicing what could be called mindful eating, paying full attention to the colors, textures, aromas, and flavors of what I was eating. This simple practice completely transformed my relationship with food. Instead of eating out of boredom, stress, or habit, I began to eat primarily for nutrition and genuine pleasure. Once again, it wasn't about strict rules or deprivation. It was about creating conditions for a more natural and harmonious relationship with food. Just as a minimalist kitchen does not mean an empty kitchen, minimalist eating doesn't mean restriction. It means choosing with intention, savoring fully, and recognizing when enough is enough. This journey has taught me that true abundance comes not from having more, but from fully appreciating what we have. A kitchen with few carefully chosen items can provide more satisfaction than one cluttered with rarely used gadgets. A simple meal enjoyed with presence can nourish the body and soul more deeply than a banquet consumed mindlessly. In sharing this experience, I do not intend to provide a one-size-fits-all model to be followed rigidly. Each person has unique circumstances, needs, and preferences. What I offer are principles that can be adapted and customized to different lives and homes. The first principle is awareness, honestly observing how your current environment is affecting your habits and well-being. The second is intentionality, making conscious decisions about what to keep in your life and how to organize it. The third is sustainability, creating systems and habits that can be maintained long-term without excessive effort. Applied to the kitchen, these principles can transform not only a room in the house, but potentially your entire relationship with food, health, and well-being. The kitchen, after all, is not just a place to prepare food. It is a space where we nourish ourselves and those we love, where we transform simple ingredients into nutrition and pleasure, and where we express care through food. When we treat this space with the importance it deserves, when we organize it in a way that supports healthy habits and moments of connection, we are directly investing in our quality of life. It's not about aesthetic perfection or following decorative trends. It's about creating an environment that works in favor of your well-being, not against it. If you're feeling overwhelmed by the clutter in your kitchen, if you notice that this space is making healthy choices more difficult instead of easier, I invite you to consider the principles I've shared. Start small, perhaps just one drawer or one cabinet. Pay attention to how you feel using that space after organizing it with intention. Allow that feeling to inspire you to continue. Remember that this is not a transformation that happens overnight. It's a journey of small changes that over time create a profound impact. Every item you decide to keep or remove, every habit you cultivate or let go of, every food choice you make, all of these are steps in this journey. Minimalism in the kitchen is not about creating a space that looks like it came out of a home decor magazine. It's about creating a space that works for you, that supports your values and goals, that makes it easier to live in line with your best intentions. It's about removing what doesn't serve you to make room for what truly matters. My kitchen today is neither perfect nor immaculate. There are still days when it's messy, moments of neglect, times when old habits try to resurface. The difference is that now I am aware, I have the tools, and I have a clear vision of what I want for this space and for my life as a whole. And perhaps this is the greatest gift that minimalism can offer: clarity. In a world that constantly tells us we need more things, more options, more stimuli, minimalism reminds us that often the path to a fuller life comes from having less, but with more meaning and intention. If your kitchen currently feels like it's working against your health instead of supporting it, know that change is possible. A complete overhaul or significant investments are not necessary, just a new perspective on the space and a willingness to question the status quo. Small changes, implemented mindfully and maintained consistently, can transform not only your kitchen, but potentially your whole relationship with food and health. The true power of minimalism in the kitchen does not lie in the visible results, the organized cabinets or the clean surfaces, but in the invisible impact it has on our habits, choices, and overall well-being. It's about creating an environment that invites us to care for ourselves in a more conscious and compassionate way. I hope my journey can inspire you to look at your own kitchen with new eyes, to see beyond the superficial appearance and realize how this space is influencing your habits and your health. To consider that perhaps, just perhaps, the path to a healthier and more fulfilling life isn't about adding more, but about subtracting what doesn't serve you, making room for what truly matters. The transformation of my kitchen was just the beginning of a greater journey toward a more mindful and intentional life, a journey that continues each day, with every choice, with every moment of presence and attention, a journey that I hope can inspire your own. Share this blessed video so it can touch and help others like you and me. Don't forget to click the subscribe button if you haven't already. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of our faith community. If you'd like to support our channel a bit more, consider becoming a member. Here are 2 more videos for you to continue your search. Thank you, and may God bless everyone. See you soon.